Okay, so how's everybody doing? All right, so this particular episode is going to be a little bit about my story. I realize right now, the subs are going up and I'm getting more views, so I feel I owe it to the subscriber community and those that just log in randomly a little bit about my story. I owe to all of you to just maybe give you a little bit of my history and the model railroad. Like, how did I get into it and what prompted me to arrive at the level of where I'm at now. So around in the mid-90s, I'd already had a career in the film industry. As a model maker and a carpenter and painter. Mind you, didn't do a lot of painting at that time, but I did when I went into theater. And I'd always built models as a kid. Loved building a plastic kit on the kitchen table, right from the very moment when I spilled my first bottle of enamel Umbro paint on my mom's kitchen table and received the wrath of her indignation. But yeah, in the mid-90s, I was well in, or actually just stepping out of a film industry career. I walked away from it after 10 years or so, or 7 years. I just basically had enough of it. And I was already building models on the side, and I was building actually dioramas. I grew up on tank models and model airplanes, just like pretty much every other kid did at the time. And I was building military dioramas, and I decided to change the theme to wildlife. Or sort of outdoor themed dioramas. And much to my surprise, it was received very well in the model builder community. I began to win Best of Show, People's Choice, Best Diorama, and the interesting thing was I wasn't really any better than the top 10-15% of the best modelers. It was just that the theme that I was doing was different. I mean, it was done well, but it was just very, very different, and so I was winning awards all over the Pacific Northwest. And so what happened was I had all these dioramas, a series of them anyway, like eagles and whales and fishing scenes, and I dropped one off in a fishing store and a lawyer bought one for $500. And then after the next one I sold was for $5,000, a commission. And then there was a museum, the Granville Island Sport Fishing Model Ship Not Yet Model Train Museum in about 1996 or so. And I took one of my dioramas down there at the request of a friend at the time, or someone I knew, and dropped it off. And then I got a phone call, and the owner, who was a multi-millionaire at the time and had basically helped start Granville Island in Vancouver, BC, said, I want this model and I want all the other ones that you have. And I was like, wow, okay. And so I sold him all of those, and then he took me on as a artist, working on his museum, basically, building up his inventory. The sport fishing part had already been built up, so now he was doing ships. He took me in his office, and he had the diorama sitting there on his desk, and he said, now I want you to build me another diorama. I want to commission you. And I said, okay. And he said, I'll take you into the room and show you where I want it displayed. And he took me into this room that was like, I don't know, 120 feet long by 35 feet wide. I just about fell over. I said, you want me to build a diorama like the ones I sold you and to fill this room? And he said, yes. I said, well, wow, that's quite an undertaking. He said, I want it done in a year. And I just said, oh, no, it can't be done. And so anyway, we did get it done, the railroad diorama. It was in O scale. I was able to hire people. There was over 6,000 hand-built trees of them were 2.5, 3 feet high, because this is O scale now. We were saving an interurban, the most beautiful custom built O scale BC electric cars you'd ever seen. And so we had that incorporated into it. There was 3-rail kind of higher end Lionel train. Like, he had the largest Lionel train collection in the world. And anyway, so he was basically paying me to build this massive O scale diorama, which was just sort of a BC theme in the mountains. There was no yards, nothing, just a continuous running train. Half the track for the BC was all hand laid. I mean, it was a monumental project. Anyway, yeah, so the little diorama led to that, and then it kept evolving and snowballing. And during that period and through the 2000s and so on, I was also working, teaching theater and so on. But I always hung on to the love of trains because I was also a custom painter. I was working for a company, a really nice fellow that owned a model railroad retail company in the States and here, and I was custom painting mostly Kato locomotives, and he treated me really well. He was paying for all my paint, Tamiya, like cases of paint, and undecked Kato from Japan, and it just, there was no stopping. It was just model and train after train, and ironically, a lot of American clients that wanted Canadian Pacific. Anyway, that ran its course too, and eventually I just got tired of it. I burned out. It just, I couldn't keep up the demand anymore, and this is what happens. But I want to encourage those that are doing it now. I know there's many of you out there that are custom painters, and you're really good too. I've looked at your work, very impressive. I won't name names, but I think you know who you are, and I think your work is outstanding, and I just encourage you to go for it. If I was going to give you any advice, be careful that you don't turn your hobby that you love into a business, because there's this kind of a flip that happens where you don't have a hobby anymore, and it just becomes a business and a grind. And then when you walk away, it takes a while for things to settle in so you can actually begin enjoying it again, like I am now. Because I had walked away from the hobby or the arts altogether for, I don't know, 5, 6 years when I went back to school. And then after school, of course, I didn't want to read another book for 2 years. And I just decided, well, you know, I've got this some stuff kicking around, and you know, I'll just, you know, revisit it. And so here I am, the Glover Road Diorama. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really thankful and grateful that I can share what I can with you, what I know. I don't think I'm the best modeler out there by any means. I think there's burgeoning young modelers right now that have loads of potential. Yeah, they have gifts, but remember one thing, a gift is really an obligation to work harder. If you have a gift or an inclination towards it, you got to work harder than everybody else for it to show. It doesn't come, nothing comes easy. The greatest rewards are the ones you work the hardest for. And the reward is why we do it too, right? Like the visual impact and the immersion that we get out of it, and the enjoyment of taking like I mean, in my case, for example, a locomotive that's already painted, stripping it, like, and then repainting it and turning it into something else. Like, some would think that, you know, that's crazy. And that's okay. There's lots of people that are just into the ready-to-run market, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Have at her. Just keep expanding, keep thinking outside the box, you know, and, you know, maybe revisit your layout and say, what, you know, what really gives me enjoyment? Like, what is the one thing that I enjoy the most? Like, be honest with yourself, you know, go for a walk, and like, we can't touch all of it. We want all of it, but you can see in my case, I just have this small 8-foot layout, and I get as much satisfaction out of this than I ever did from the massive Granville Island Model Train Museum layout. And I got to operate it and build it, basically. So, and I walked away and had no interest in it. But this I do. So, yeah, that's just part of my story. I hope that's an encouragement to most of you to just keep at or have fun with it. You know, at the end of the day, it is about having fun and being able to express yourself creatively. Okay? So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day. And I hope you can stay interested in some of the future content and some of the other areas of the model railroad that I want to visit. All right, thank you.